Hey guys, what's up? It's Debbie back with more true crimes of criminal minds. We survived another hurricane, yay! It went from the southwest of Florida up and then cut across the state. It didn't keep going up through the Gulf close to where we are. So we were very fortunate that we did not get slammed by this hurricane. A lot of wind. I'm filming this on Thursday morning, and it's still really windy outside, but the worst of it is over, and everybody's safe and sound. Today we're talking about Season 1, Episode 11, Blood Hungry, which is one of the most disgusting episodes of the entire show. There are 3 episodes about this very taboo subject, and it is the one thing in true crime that makes me cringe. And trying to think of how to say this without offending YouTube. He was like Jeffrey Dahmer. I think that might do it. Most people know who Jeffrey Dahmer is, right? So the episode is about a man who is just released from a mental hospital. And when the episode starts, there's a little boy at his singing lesson. And the boy leaves, and this man kills his music teacher. And then the little boy goes to his grandmother's house, and the man kills his grandmother and then kidnaps the little boy. And he said he did this to bring his mother an angel. And the really weird thing was that the mom tried to cover it up. So she was an accessory after the fact, and he was so delusional and had such a break with reality that they medicated him in order to interview him, but then he had to go to the hospital.
Drives a Cadillac, right?
Yeah.
They got GPSs in them.
So
let's go see where she's been.
it's got every stop she's made and how long she spent there.
You know, these things could cause more divorces than internet porn.
And Hotch said, I have an idea. So he told the mom he was going to take her to the hospital to see her son. But he didn't. He was going to the area on the GPS that she had been so many times. And on the way there, she says, wait, this isn't the way to the hospital. And Hotch says, oh, I just have to make a stop first. Where they go to where she had gone so many times, and they found the little boy. And she says to Hotch, Mr. Hotchner, do you have children? And he says, yes, a son. And she said, wouldn't you do anything for him? And he said, not cover up a murder and kidnapping. So, happy ending. Bittersweet ending, I guess. Because some people did die. But boy was found safe and sound. I did a little video of another red herring. Remember I did the video of Tony Todd for the episode The Fox. He was the red herring. The red herring is played by Doug Jones. And if you don't know who Doug Jones is, you have seen him. I guarantee you have seen him. He is super tall, like 6'3", 140 pounds. And he does a lot of creature roles because he emotes very well through the makeup. So I put together a little clip of some of his roles. Take a look. This is Doug Jones. He is 6'4" and weighs 140 pounds. You have seen him in something, I guarantee it, even if you don't remember him. He was in this episode, and he was also in another Criminal Minds episode that's way later. But he's dear to my heart because he plays Saru on Star Trek Discovery. Come on, guys, you had to know I was a Star Trek fan. Look at those shoes. Those are like high heels without heels. He dresses up in this latex for almost every role that he plays, and they say that he can emote through the makeup, and that's why he's so wonderful. He has even been in things that I am very big fan of and have not even realized it was him. Namely, the Silver Surfer, and also Buffy the Vampire Slayer. When I saw him in this episode, I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, that's Doug Jones! That's Doug Jones! But I didn't even really know him, although I had seen him in many things until Star Trek. And so I am a huge fan of Doug Jones now. It fascinates me when people are not claustrophobic. I could not do what he does. So the true crime case that we're talking about today is the case of the earthquake killer, Herbert Mullins. Herbert Mullins killed 13 people in the early 70s to prevent an earthquake. An earthquake had been predicted by a mathematician named Reuben Greenspan. And what he did, he looked at the tidal charts and he compared the tides with the sun and the moon and the stars and somehow predicted earthquakes from that. He had a very good track record on doing that as well, but this time he was wrong. Herbert Mullin was born on April 18, 1947 in Salinas, California, and he spent his childhood in Santa Cruz and his high school years in Felton. His birthday, April 18th, was the anniversary of the 1906 earthquake in San Francisco that destroyed 80% of the city and killed more than 3,000 people. So that is what made him have the connection to earthquakes in his mind. He was very popular in high school. He had a girlfriend. He was a football player. He was voted most likely to succeed. Right after high school, his best friend was killed in a car accident. And he built a shrine to him in his basement. He had not started showing signs of schizophrenia until his senior year of high school. Then his friend died, and he started using marijuana, LSD, and methamphetamines. So the combination of his friend's death and the drugs and the schizophrenia, total break from reality. He went around California doing odd jobs. He was a boxer for a little while, but he was forcibly removed from the ring when he wouldn't stop beating his opponent. He wanted to join the priesthood. He tried to join the Marines, but he had drug charges, so he wasn't allowed to. He passed the physical and the psych test. Then he tried to get into the Coast Guard, and he didn't pass the psych test for that one, so he didn't get into the Coast Guard. So he thought there was this grand cosmic plan to ruin his life, and he said if he had been allowed to go into the service, that he probably would have never killed anybody. And I'm not sure that's true, but that's what he thought. He went to college for a while, and I don't remember his original major. I want to say engineering. But anyway, he changed his major to philosophy, and then he did independent studies on Eastern religions. In 1968, he broke up with his girlfriend because he thought he was gay. He believed that Albert Einstein was telling him to kill people to prevent the earthquakes. He said that the Vietnam War had kept the earthquakes at bay up until this point, and because it was coming to a close, that the earthquakes would start. So he killed 13 people to prevent an earthquake. Reuben Greenspan predicted it for January 4th, 1973. So many people believed this that they were leaving California, not be injured or killed in the earthquake. Kind of like Florida with our hurricanes. He would go into mental hospitals for brief periods of time, like weeks. And he would not cooperate, wouldn't go to group therapy, wouldn't take his medicine, burned himself with cigarettes, had conversations with people that weren't there, and then he would discharge himself before his treatment was finished. It was a repeat pattern in his life. October 13th, 1972 was his first murder, and the man's name was Lawrence White, and he was a homeless man that was hitchhiking. Herbert Mullin said he thought that he was Jonah from the Bible and that he gave him telepathic permission to kill him. So he beat him to death with a baseball bat. The second murder was also a hitchhiker. This was 24-year-old college student Mary Guilfoyle. Don't hitchhike, guys. It's so dangerous. Or Uber. Uber is just organized hitchhiking. Don't. Dangerous. Too dangerous. So after these two murders, he knew he had done something wrong. So he went to St. Mary's Catholic Church to do confession. And while he was in the confessional, he came to believe that Father Henri Tomei was giving him permission to kill him. So he killed the priest and then was scared away from the church by a church secretary. The next 4 murders took place on the same day. He wanted revenge against the man that first sold him marijuana in high school, because he said that was part of this grand cosmic plan to ruin his life, and it was that man's fault that he did not get into the service because of the marijuana charges. He had the address to the man's house. His name was Jim Gianera, and his wife's name was Joan. He went to the house, and a lady named Mary Frances opened the door, and she told him, oh, they don't live here anymore. They live around the corner. And I don't know why you would move and tell the new owner where you're moving to, and why it was just around the corner. But anyway, he went there first. Most of the sources that I looked at said that they don't know if he killed the Francises or the Gianeras first, but Wikipedia says Frances, and that makes more sense because he went to her house thinking it was Jim Gianera's house, and he killed her and her 2 sons, David and Damon. Then he went to his ex-friend's house and he killed him and his wife. So those 5 murders, I think I said 4 earlier, those 5 murders were all done on the same day. After this, he fled to Henry Cowell Redwood State Park, where he found some teenagers illegally camping. 4 teenagers. Their names were David Oliker, 18 years old, Robert Spector, 18 years old, Brian Scott Card, 19 years old, Mark Drabelblis, 15, I'm not sure I said his name right. I probably didn't. I'm sorry. He pretended to be a park ranger. And he was going to tell these kids that they weren't allowed to camp there. And they wouldn't leave. So when they didn't leave, he just killed them all as well. His last kill was on February 13th, 1973. Fred Perez, 72-year-old retired man, was working in his garden. And Herbert Mullin just happened to drive by the house and saw him. He did a U-turn, turned around, went back, killed the man. This is in broad daylight with neighbors as witnesses, and then got in his car and drove off. And someone got the license plate number and called the police, and that is how they finally caught this man after 13 murders. The sources that I read said that they searched his apartment. I was under the impression he was still living with his parents. I don't know if that was incorrect, that it was an apartment, or if he had moved out of his parents' home. But they found the address to his former friend's house. They found a rosary pouch. I'm not Catholic, so I don't know what that is. I know what a rosary is, but I don't know what a rosary pouch is. And it belonged to Father Henri Tomei that he killed at St. Mary's Catholic Church. For some reason, though, he was not charged with that murder until later. And I didn't see anywhere in my research why that was. So he had the rosary pouch, the address to his former friend's house. He had clippings, newspaper clippings about the murders. And so they put all that together to try him for the other murders. Like I said, rosary pouch, but maybe not enough evidence to include that one. His original plea was guilty. He said that he did all 13 murders. The judge could not take a guilty plea because he did not have counsel. So the first day of the trial, he pled not guilty due to insanity brought on by LSD intoxication. Can you excuse one crime by admitting to another crime? I don't think that's how that works. Okay, we're gonna, little side note here. The difference between legal insanity and medical insanity. He was medically insane. He had delusions, breaks with reality, he was in and out of mental hospitals, on medication. That is insanity, but that's a medical definition. The legal definition of insanity is, do you know right from wrong? Did you know this was wrong and or illegal when you did it? And that's evidenced by him going to confession. Even though another murder happened, in the actual confessional, he still knew that what he did was wrong. Therefore, he was fit to be tried. He claimed in court that he was bi everything. Bisexual, bi political. I don't even know what that means, bi political. Bi spiritual. It's another one I don't get. Biracial. He wasn't biracial. So he just claimed to be bi everything. He also claimed to be a ultra conservative, but he wanted marijuana and LSD made legal. And I don't know of any ultra conservatives that want LSD and marijuana to be legalized. So the things he said in court didn't make much sense. He was only charged with 10 of the murders, although he had done 13. He was found guilty of all 10 crimes that he was charged with, 2 first-degree murder, because it was premeditated. Those were the murders of Jim Gianera and Mary Frances. Now, I do agree that the murder of his former friend was premeditated. However, Mary Frances, he didn't even know she existed. So I don't see how that is considered premeditated, unless he did go to his friend's house and then go back to her house. Wikipedia says she was killed first. All my other sources say They don't know which was first, Gianera or Francis. So that could possibly be why that was considered premeditated, if he went back to the house and killed her. The other 8 was done on impulse, so those were second-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison in Mule Creek Prison. And one of the reasons why these crimes were so hard to solve is that Edmund Kemper was active in the same area at the same time. So they had 2 serial killers at the same time, and it was just all over the place, and they had no way to determine who was doing what. So it was hard for them to catch him. When they caught Kemper, he ended up in a cell next to Herbert Mullin. And he said that, he called him Herbie, loved to sing. And he would just start singing, and it drove everybody crazy. So Kemper would throw water on him to get him to shut up. Then, after a while, he started giving him peanuts. He said Herbie loves peanuts. So he started giving him peanuts, and then he would ask to sing. He would ask if he could sing, instead of just belting out a song. And Kemper said, that's behavior modification therapy. I'm going to talk about Kemper in another episode. So if you've never heard of him, you don't know who he is, it's cool because we'll get to that later. But those 2 were at the same time. On December 11th, 1973, he was tried for the murder of Father Henri Tomei. And he pled guilty to that. So he got a life sentence in Mule Creek Prison, and he was denied parole 8 times. He showed no remorse. He said he did it to save the environment, and or his father telepathically sent him orders to kill these people. So he never got parole because he had no remorse, and he could go out and just do it again. So he died in prison just recently, August 18th. He died in prison. He was 75 years old, and he died of natural causes. And he was at the California Health Facility, which I assume is a health facility for prisoners. I could be wrong, but anyway, he died at the age of 75 of natural causes. So that's all I have this week. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, hit that bell for notifications, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Oh, I got a list of things I want to try before it's too late.
And orthopedic surgery is one of them?
Oh, skydiving. Apparently it's all about the landing.
How long on the crutches?